good morning, good evening, and good night. This testimony brought to you from my brother, Luke Walk Kingdom. It really blew your mind. So he'll express himself, and right now we're coming live from the space station, and I'm gonna show you where he is right now. We're zooming in on him. We see him on a beach right now, and here he is. We welcome him. Wow.
Yeah, how you doing, Nico?
Very fantastic.
I love this setup, man. It's all looking good.
Wow,
I'm
look
glad
at
to be
look at
part of it. I'm
yours.
glad. Thank you for letting me be on your little show, big show,
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Training to reign.
Training to Reign
Mm-hmm.
and Walk Kingdom.
That's right.
It's all about finding your identity. It's all about walking out your identity, your true self, what we were given at birth.
That's the
So,
truth.
yeah, I love it, man. This is awesome.
Wow, man, you look younger and wiser, and there's some nice waves out there.
Yeah, you talk about yourself real good. That's awesome.
Yes, that's right. You're a reflection of me, and vice versa. So, for everyone watching, Luke has been involved in a big part of my life for for my whole walk here, as you see it. That's why it's Walk Kingdom. The name is Walk King Dominion. Walk Kingdom. Walk in your identity. Live in unconditional love with no strings attached. Live in the spirit, or be led by the breath. Follow the breath. It is an unconditioned consciousness, as I would call it. But Luke has a way of explaining something so vital, where this is something you see on It's Supernatural with Sid Roth. And I want you guys to really listen to his testimony from his heart. It's very heart touching, and it would transform your life big time. And go ahead, brother. You can start
So,
off any way you
yeah,
want.
like I said, we're gonna start pretty much from how I kind of got here. Why did I start Walk Kingdom? What made me identify myself as the image of God in Genesis 1, 27 and 126. When I was a kid, I lived just a normal, typical life like anybody. The stories were the same. You go to school. You go out, have fun with your friends. You get in trouble. You kind of know right from wrong. You know right from wrong, but you know what? The flesh is the flesh. We love to we love to do stupid things because we have just as much fun doing that as we
That's
do
right.
being good. So you just, you live out your life. And then when I was 20 years old, I started my own company, and I started working and making a lot of money. And the money was good to where I blew a lot. I blew everything, and we'd go out to bars, and we'd go out and to fancy hotels and cool trips, and we just stupid spent a lot of money because the world had no value at that time. It had no value because you look around and everybody's there's a lot of people living with a lot of emotional problems. A lot of people aren't happy. You don't see many people with a smile, and if you do, it's fake. And so us humans are just basically a breed of what we're around. It says that who you are, who your friends are, right? And that's basically the world right there. We're
Absolutely.
constantly being hypnotized by the world, and when it starts with the parents, and it's the friends, and it's the news that you watch and the shows that you watch, you start becoming that. And anyways, so I got a bad wreck when I was 29 years old, and 28 years
Wow.
old, and it was a bad wreck for the other people, but I had a very expensive vehicle, so my vehicle didn't really get damaged, but it just totally destroyed the other vehicle. They hit me from behind. But during that time, I had some pain in my legs that were so bad that I lost everything. I couldn't go to work anymore. I was crying, literally crying at night,
Wow.
extreme pain. The pain was to the point where I finally went to the doctor, and after a couple years, it was like 28, after when I was 30, I went to the doctor, and I said, hey, you're gonna have to cut off my legs. It was that bad. I didn't even care. It was that bad of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, yeah, well, I'm going to give you this and this and this. And so he gave me this medicine. And because I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, they thought I was on drugs, which I wasn't on drugs. So when they gave me some kind of medicine that kept me up for 10 straight days. I couldn't even sleep. It was miserable. I couldn't talk to people. And so 10 days later, I go back to the doctor. I'm like, dude, whatever you gave me made me look like I'm high. I can't handle this. I don't like anything that makes me feel like this. But even though I did my fair share of those crazy drugs back in the early 20s, it wasn't part of my life anymore. I started to get away from that stuff. So I didn't want to have anything that created my mind to feel that hyper and high and stuff like that. I didn't like that feeling. So I went back to there and I said, dude, can you please give me Xanax? I know what Xanax is. I used to take Xanax bars. I used to take 2 at a time. Just give me Xanax bars. And he's like, no. I said, please. And I begged this guy this doctor does not give anything. He never gave painkillers, Xanax, or anything. And so, but he did. And since I was up for 10 days, I went home. I popped 2. I don't know how many I popped. I popped a couple. When you haven't slept in that long, you usually pop them, right?
Right.
And, that's my old self. I don't do that stuff anymore because of my supernatural encounters I've had. But so anyways, I went home, popped a few or whatever I popped. And I was laying on the couch. And just like that, my soul came out of my body into the spirit realm.
Listen, guys.
Just the hand of God, which is the spirit realm. My soul came out of my body. My body's laying on the couch, and I'm looking. This was dark time, so the lights came from the lights. There was lights everywhere around the room, lights you've never seen before, and these lights had there was none, but they lit up the room in the most beautiful way. And I'm telling you, like, the lighting was perfect. You can't explain it because it was a heavenly spirit realm. The spirit realm's completely different to us. We don't see the colors that we see. And when our soul comes into this flesh in our mother's womb, and we're born, we lose those colors that we get to see in the spirit. In fact, if you do research on people who have an encounter with God or Jesus Christ, and on YouTube or whatever, every one of them says the same thing. They all say the same thing. They say, I walked outside and the lighting was completely different. The sky was different. I could see colors I haven't seen before, because as soon as we transform into those spiritual eyes, we see stuff. And even though you live in the flesh, you can still do that, right? Because you're you're moving into a spiritual realm. But I completely divided from my body. My body was laying on the couch and I just was floating. And literally I looked around like this. And after about 10 seconds, I said, and I still had some feelings and emotions, which I feel nowadays researching this, that our emotions are still connected to the body. I think it's called the silver cord. When the silver cord snaps, I think that's when we lose all of our memory. But I believe that I still was connected in a way where I still could think with, I wouldn't say a carnal mind, but I had a little bit of a rational mind. And it was slow. It was fading, like boom, 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 boom. Every split second it was fading. So I was starting to not have those feelings of these earthly feelings. So basically the last feeling I had of an earthly feeling is when I looked around, I said, oh my gosh, I'm dead. And then I just kind of was released, as in, wow, this is feeling good. So I was floating in the air and I went through the wall. I wanted to go around the wall through the door. That's where that's where I would typically walk, but I just went through the wall. And that right there, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But I wasn't thinking this is crazy. I was thinking this was normal. Wow. You look back now and you think it's crazy.
Right.
But anyways, my ex-wife was sleeping in the bed, and I went through the wall and I saw her sleeping, and I saw her and I took my hands my spiritual hands, and I tried to wake her up, and I couldn't wake her up. And I literally tried it 10 times. I just would not stop. And then the 10th time, the last time, this is crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the dang truth. I'll never forget. A dream you forget, but you never forget when you're in the spirit, ever. And so as I was going through the 10th time and I was going down through her chest, her soul came out of her body and came right in front of me and the dresser and the window. As soon as she came in front, the dresser disappeared, the window disappeared, and the whole wall turned into a heavenly realm. And I could see through the wall, everything just disappeared. And I could see the most beautiful beach. See, I got a beach. So one thing about death is we always get what our reality is. So God always meets you at your most comfortable spot. So my dream was always to live on a tropical beach. It's not my dream anymore. My dream is to build Walk Kingdom, help people, feed the, we're not here for ourselves.
Right.
It says in Luke 17:33, it says, you got to destroy this body to live. You can't keep this body or you'll be destroyed. It says Christ, which is our identity. It says, come after me, and you'll be rewarded, but you can see the beach behind me. That was my dream. I just wanted to go to a tropical island and disappear. And so when I had my encounter, I came out of my body. That's what I saw. But the thing is when I saw the beach, I can't describe it, but it's like every individual sand was all alive. The trees looked like, I remember, the trees looked like they were handpicked in the most beautiful spot, handpicked. And at this time, my ex-wife, she's sitting in front of me, I'm real good friends with, because it's all, it's about loving and helping the people around you. So we have a really good relationship. She was in front of me, and I looked at her, and she said, everything will be all right. And as soon as she said that, before she said that, I just want to explain her. To explain her is literally like Casper. Like how you can see through Casper, it was a fuzzy, white, see-through illuminant light, and I could see every feature on her face to the T. Her lips, nose, and her ears, and I could see her eyes and her nose and her chin and her everything. I could see everything, and it was the most perfect, like the most perfect face in the world, but you could look straight through it. And so as I looked at her, and I remember looking at her and saying, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life,
Wow.
And another thing is she was sitting like sideways like this, right? And she had this gold like dress on. And I remember when I was looking at it, I was like, there's no human that could have made that. That dress was so supernatural. I remember I had gold pieces in every half inch. There was gold pieces like that. And then there was like jewels or something over, like woven in it. I can't even explain it. And I was looking at it, and I said, what human could make that? Like, it was beyond my imagination. And I looked at her, and she goes, everything will be all right. And as soon as she said that, I woke up gasping for air, coughing like that. And I ran straight the same path into the room. I woke her up, and I said, did you feel that? Did you feel that? And she goes, I felt something. And I'm like, and the only thing I could think of is I saw her spiritual body. I did not see her soul that was connected to the flesh. It says we're seated in heavenly places all the time. I believe we have a spiritual body that's there for eternity, and then our soul is a reflection of our spirit body that's inside this flesh. And I believe I saw her spirit body, and her soul was still connected to the flesh, living and sleeping. And so even though she said she felt something and stuff like that, I believe that's how that works. But
That's right.
I'm not going to tell people how things work. But over experience of what I've seen in my life,
Right, right.
And so, anyway, so that was my very first encounter with the supernatural. But the thing is about this situation is it was so real, which it was real. It really happened. I came out of my body. Is the next day, maybe it was that night, I was already reading hundreds of stories about what happened to me. And you know what? People can say, well, you had a dream, but dreams don't transform people. The truth transforms people. When you see the truth, I saw Christ that night. I saw my spiritual body. That's who Christ is. I saw her spiritual body. That's who Christ is. When you see the truth, you start digging and digging and digging and digging, and you never quit. And so that's the very first time that I seen the supernatural. I had some other crazy encounters. Sometimes I would see maybe something crazy within the last 30 years before that, and you just pawn it off. But this was an experience where it was me and I was involved with it. And so I started digging deep. And I probably read, like, I don't know, 10,000 near-death experiences. Watched them on YouTube, read them, and did it all. And that's my very first experience.
That's a huge first experience there.
Yeah,
I like how you were speaking about the trees when they were hand-picked. It reminds me of the Bible verse that says that every hair in our head is, God knows, they're numbered by the Lord,
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like that when our souls come into our body, I don't feel like this. It's in Job. I can't remember, Job 14:8. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to look. But it says that our bodies were handpicked from God, and we had a mission to go do, like a working hand, and He's with us the whole entire time until the day we're done, and He brings us from earth. And so what I'm thinking, I believe that our souls know what we're getting into. My soul knew I was going to have that encounter. My soul knows what I'm going to be doing and when I'm going to be leaving. And I just think it's amazing that this world has so much to offer and so much we don't know.
Right.
And we can be so blinded from this fleshly world. We can be manipulated and brainwashed, and we can be taken away from this cool reality that we get to go and find and grab and have, and which turns into the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, goodness, thankfulness, kindness, patience, perseverance. And so that was the day. That was the day where I knew there was something different. There was something more. And so it did not totally transform me, but it helped me a lot.
And how would you say that it has impacted your loved ones or your close ones or your family members? Or how was the disconnection?
I think it helped a lot because, obviously we're going to get to more of my testimony, but I lost everything at that time. I had a truck that was like $120,000 decked out. And I had a big business, huge crew, like an entourage. I lost everything. I lost my job. I lost my cell phone. I lost my money. I lost half the house. I lost everything. But because that encounter, I knew there was something more. Right. And I went through everything in peace. And I wouldn't say it was all joy, but there was, I knew that this world wasn't it anymore. But I wasn't transformed yet because I yet to have my encounter face to face with God.
That's right. Wow, that's very beautiful. Wow. I'll tell you what, just hearing it alone, I know that my life will be wrecked. I haven't had any encounters like that, but of course I have some way different ones than you. That's huge, though. That's huge. Also, I'm very excited for your next encounter if you want to jump on that one because...
Yeah, so guys, another thing is this, if you watch, let's say, Sid Roth or, some other videos of some other culture or whatever, and you see this amazing Hindu story or this amazing Christian pastor tell a story, or this guy who saw God and this guy who saw heaven and this guy who saw angels. Don't ever look up at those stories. Be
Right.
thankful that they had them, but your thumbprint is not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Your thumbprint is completely different. And so
Beautiful way to put it.
you'll never have their encounter. Ever. You'll never. Every encounter is completely different. In fact, if you hear a counter exactly like another encounter, that's scary, because that's like there's no way our thumbprints are the same. God created us all completely different in our own unique way, and every time there's an encounter of some sort, it's going to be completely different than somebody else's.
That's right.
And that's the thing, is when you see these people walk around with these gifts of manifesting things in their hands, walking on water, levitating, you know, we're supposed to love them and encourage them, and try to learn new things, but never worry about what they can do and what we can't do, because every single person, even the biggest failure out there, has a gift that somebody else doesn't have. And so that's the same encounter with God and heaven and stuff. Nobody has the same encounters. And so, my next encounter was, so at that time when I died and came out of my body, I was 30. So at the age of 40 years old, a week after my 40th birthday, I'm not going to go into huge detail about this encounter because it's so long, but I had before I saw God before I had an encounter with God, how this all happened. A voice came to me a week before and said, "Hey, your daughter's going to get in a wreck." No, a flat tire. And I'm like, okay. And I fought this voice for a couple days. For a couple days, every night it spoke to me. And I was like, what's this? It was crazy. And so, anyways, it finally said, why don't you just love her and not be mad for it at her? So as soon as I had this peace in my mind and said I was going to not be mad, because, she was going out having fun, and you want your kids to be perfect and all that stuff. And now my kids are unbelievable. But at that time, it was a little crazy. And I said, and finally God spoke to me. This voice spoke to me and said, "Hey, you going to love her, or are you going to get mad?" And this peace went through me. I said, I'm going to love her. And so that night, or the following night, which was the following night, yeah, she gets in a, that day, after I talked to that voice a few times, I went outside. I got the jack ready. I showed her how to fix a tire. I said, "Look, dude, I got to get you all ready. I feel like something's going to happen." And I maybe didn't say it like that, but I don't know how I exactly said it at the time. But I showed her and her boyfriend how to fix the flat. And so she goes out. She gets a flat. Then she couldn't fix it because it was on some hill or something, and so I had to drive all the way out there, and I wasn't mad. I was happy because I had this peace come through me and tell me to love her. So the next night, the voice comes to me and says, "Your daughter's going to get in a wreck." So we start talking about it, for 4 straight days. I'm furious inside. She's going to get in a wreck. And he goes, "Are you going to love her, or are you going to get mad?" And this peace went through me, and I loved her. I had love in my heart during that time when I was speaking to this voice. So, anyways, so that happened, and we got to go the next step, because that's going to happen. So what happens is, I got, like, one night I was just real angry, back when I got angry, and I started yelling and screaming outside and saying, "God, if you're real, you got to show up, da 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 da." And I was yelling at the top of my lungs. It says, if you seek, you'll find. If you knock, he'll answer. And I think that's real. And I was really seeking him. And so what happened was, I went outside and I was screaming as loud. I mean, screaming to the point where I'm telling you, my blood pressure was up, and I was sweating. I was just so pissed. And for like 20 minutes. And then after like 20 minutes, my whole body shut down, like, and it turned like this, and something lifted my head, and I saw God on a throne, not a throne of a king, a throne chair, like a side chair on a table, like a nice table, and his arms were like this on the armrest, and he had a book about this big, halfway open over his knees, and he had his hands on the book, and he was about, I can't say how big he was, but he was probably about 30,000 feet high.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know, 100,000 feet high. I don't know. He took up the whole entire sky.
Wow.
And so what happened was, when he took up the whole entire sky, I was going to get on my knees. And I didn't read Ezekiel for like another year from now. But I got on my knees, and he says, you don't have to bow down to me. And a lot of people think that's crazy. But see, we're his kids. You don't make your kid bow down to you. That's right. Your kid becomes your best friend. He becomes your fruit. He becomes you. You know? And so that was probably the most dramatic part about the whole entire thing, is seeing that. And the book was on him. And then, so anyways, next day, my son comes into the room, and my daughter comes in the room. I said, what happened to you last night? He says, nothing, Dad. I'm like, sure. And then my daughter comes home, and I'm like, what happened to you last night? She goes, nothing, Dad. I'm like, you sure nothing happened to you? Nothing awkward? And so what happened was, I walked outside, and I said, God, what? Why didn't you said you were coming to fix my kids. At that time, I was selfish. I didn't know that I needed to be fixed, right? You don't think that way when you're outside of your identity, you know, which is love, peace, joy, goodness, thankfulness, the fruits of the Spirit. And so what happened was, right as I said that, crazy, a whole sentence was spoken to me, but it wasn't spoken. And it wasn't out loud, it was inside. And it said, don't you know, I got this taken care of. Don't you trust me? But the sentence never was said. It was so divine. I was like, oh, it was like that. Oh, it was amazing. I was like, okay. So that night, where my daughter calls me at 1 a.m, Dad, I wrecked my car. Halfway to that place, my son transforms into this spiritual being. And he goes and buys a Bible. And he goes and watches. At that time, you know, it was more of a religious thing, but obviously, you know, every single person in this world is a child of God, from every religion to every race, from everybody. Right. Crooks or bad people or businessmen to everybody, you know, we're all children of God, and we're all created in his image, and we're all equal. But that time, he started watching every single preacher. And for like 4 straight weeks, but he completely transformed going to that wreck. Both of my kids transformed. My daughter had a dream 3 nights in a row that said, break up with your boyfriend, you need me first. And so, and then more things toppled on that. The next week, he gave me a verse, and I went and read it, and then, you know, things just happened. I don't want to go more deeper because it just goes forever, but so I had that encounter, but that encounter transformed my life at that time. Now, when I was under him, and he was on the throne, and he was sitting there looking down with me, I'll explain what he looked like. He was like this illuminate light. I could see every single thing perfect to the T's, from his eyes to his hair to his hands to his the robe that was on him, the book. I saw everything perfect. It wasn't a cloud. It wasn't blurry. It was perfect. Like you could sit on it, but it was a luminant light. And when he was above me, I was just like this, like I was getting stuff downloaded in me. And now, the way my life is, I know exactly what happened that night. I did get stuff downloaded into me, and it was my encounter and nobody else's encounter. And it was my life and nobody else's life. We all have different encounters. And from that moment on, I was transformed, and I started seeing the supernatural. I went in this store where I went in this store and I was buying something, and this audible voice on the outside of my body, not on the inside, just like a man, came and it said, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And I went like that, and it was right here, audible. It's the first time I heard seriously audible.
Wow.
It was the most craziest thing. Anyways, I heard that audible voice, and I walked up to the cash register, and the lady who was serving me came out of the door, and she goes, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And she said the identical thing. It's almost like there was a glitch in the matrix. So that I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I was wired 24 hours a day for 3 days, and that was whining through my head over and over and over and over. And I was like, on the way home, I was screaming and yelling, saying, "God, aren't you going to tell me what that was?" And so that was another encounter. And then a month and a half after I had my encounter with God, I looked up to the sky and I said, "God, if you're Christianity, I want nothing to do with you, because obviously there's nothing but hypocrites." And now I find out that I love that's the time before I found out what love really meant, because I love Christians, I love Hindus, I love atheists, I love everybody. But at that time, I was immature in my identity. I didn't understand things, and so the next night I saw this evangelist that was an amazing one with a lot of love in his heart, on YouTube, and it's almost like a light went off in my head, and it was another transformation in my life at that time. And so the next day, or a couple of days after that, I was going to take some painkillers because I had some pain at that time. And this voice came up to me again. And this voice wasn't audible from the outside, but it was literally, you could hear it from the inside. It says,
Right.
"Don't take those. Go have your son pray for you." And I said, "No, I'm not going to have my son pray for me. That's crazy. I'm not going to listen to you." And after 10 minutes of fighting with this voice, I went to my daughter's room. And when I was going to get to my daughter's room, the voice goes, "No, I told you your son's room." So I said, "Fine." And I went in my son's room. I said, "Hey, pray for me, son." And he goes, "No, we don't do that." At that time, I didn't know what miracles were and stuff like that. I haven't experienced anything. And we weren't even religious really yet, because we didn't even do that,
Right.
Anyways, yeah. So he prayed for me. I got him to pray for me, and he said, "Pain, go away." As soon as he prayed for me, my legs numbed up, and I thought I was just hallucinating. I thought I was going bad. I was like, okay, whatever. So I walked to the bed with painkillers, and I said, "I'm going to take this in 5 minutes when I know that this is just my mind." And I laid down, and my whole body felt like it was being dipped in a hot tub. And I was going, I didn't know what tongues were, spiritual language at that time, but I was like, "Shabba, Slidi, ga, ga, ga." And I was laughing and giggling, and I slept like a rock, like a baby the rest of the night. I slept so good. I woke up the next morning, I knew miracles were for today. And that's the beginning of my encounters and honestly, we have more supernatural encounters we can talk about, but that's the beginning of everything.
That's a huge beginning, man. It's like you fell right out of heaven.
Yeah,
those encounters are very
yeah, I
deep.
definitely fell out of heaven because I'm in the flesh right now.
Wow,
You got that right.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, because heaven is within, right? That's funny. Nah, but that's so amazing, man. I love that a lot. I mean, just living in the life of what people deem as supernatural, and then hearing these testimonies, they're so natural and right up my alley. I love it a
Yeah.
lot.
And I think everybody starts their own way and route. I think
That's right.
I think a true man of God walking in their supernatural identity isn't part of a culture or a religion. They become separated from the world. They become different. So I feel like some people's paths come from other places, but when they find their identity, they find out who they are, and they're walking out what
That's
they're
right.
created to do.
Yeah.
They become love, they become joy, they become goodness, they become fruitfulness. That is birthing Christ. That is, it says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. And so we birth Christ and we become. It says that in 2 Corinthians 13:5, it says, don't you know Jesus Christ is in you unless you doubt? Meaning we become that Christ figure. It says to have the mind of Christ. It says it says to become an image of God, you are a child of God, beloved children, and so we become that. We birth them on the inside, and we become pregnant, and then he's born, and then our body turns into a spiritual presence, and at that time we are no longer a prophet and Hindu, a Christian. We become love. It says that we have to be transformed from the world. We have to renew our minds, and I think we become a new creation. We just become like literally an angel on earth, to where we're manifesting miracles and manifesting love and manifesting all the good things that God created us to do.
Man, beautiful. Could have said it better, Luke. Tell you what, you have a way with words. That's the truth, man. You're preaching it on fire with it. Keep it going. I'm getting energized up. I'm over here rocking around in my chair, about to hit blast off. I'm already in the space shuttle now.
I want to tell everybody out there that you are the image of God, no matter what. No matter what. It's a moment by moment basis. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, take every thought captive. Why did I say that? Because you can be down and out, but you're only one split hair feeling from being the spirit man that you're created to be. Meaning it doesn't matter how low you are at that day. All you have to do is change your frequency, and you are right there sitting in heavenly places. It's a moment by moment. And you know what? I can prove it, because like my first miracle and all my miracles at the beginning, I was still carnally minded, making stupid mistakes, this and this and this. Even now I do. But I was seeing spiritual things happen, and I was hitting a high, because it's not about the lows. God only knows you for your highs. Right. And so what happened was, a week later after that encounter, my daughter's driving. We're in her BMW. She's driving, and her friend's in the back. And I get this pain vibration go through my left back calf. I don't know how, but I've never experienced of like word of knowledge or anything. But when it happened, I just twisted around like this, and I said, does your left calf hurt right here? And she goes, yeah, how'd you know? This is crazy. And I said, oh, and then I said something I've never experienced before. It's like God just sat inside of me and said, I got you right now. And I said, oh, you're going to be healed. And she got completely healed. Guess what? This is how real it was.
Yeah.
She goes home that day. She tells her mom everything that happens. And her mom wants to meet with me. And so she comes back to me and says, I want you to meet my mom. I told her all about you. And I said, I'll meet you at lunch with Madison, my daughter, and we'll talk about it. So me and Madison and her friend, the one that got healed, we went and ate lunch at a sandwich store about a half a mile away. And she goes, my mom wants to meet you. My mom wants to meet you. And I looked there and I looked at her like that. And I said, I pointed at her and I said, I can't meet your mom. Your mom, stepdad, is real, he's, what do you call it? He stalks her and checks her phone and her emails and all that stuff. And your brother, there's something wrong with your brother, like he had some kind of issue. And she goes, oh my God, my brother did this when I'm 13, and how, there was so much information. I just was pouring it out. And she goes, oh my God, my stepdad hits her and stalks her phone and watches looks at her emails, everything I said. And that was my first supernatural encounter with my word of knowledge and healing. So I think it just kind of built up to that. So I did what Nico did, and any other person who is inside of this bubble of religion at that time, we start watching all the faith healers. Like, I'm not going to name names, so we watched all of them. Well, Nico was one of those people. And so that's how I saw Nico. I saw Nico on YouTube healing, and I was like, this guy really has a heart. He's not doing this for an agenda. He really, I could see his passion for seeking the truth. I knew it because he's the only one I've ever reached out to. And so I reached out to him. He got a hold of me that day. And then when you got a hold of me, Nico, I just started prophesizing over you and saying things about your life. In fact, you know what I'm saying? And you know all about that. And so all those things just started happening over and over and over. And and then me and Nico, we just started digging even deeper, because the Bible was saying, when you're in Christ, you're healed. Nothing can come against you. Philippians 2:14 says, you never argue, or you never, be rude to people, and you love everybody. This is what the Bible's trying to tell us, right? And we look around and we're like, well, it doesn't look like people are actually following this thing. And so that's how me and Nico got on our spiritual journey. We wanted the truth. And the truth is what sets you free. So we were seeing a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of people with a lot of good words, and a lot of really good on stage, but me and Nico wanted to seek the truth, where we actually see somebody walking this, somebody that says in 1 John 1:6, 1:7, 1:8, it says, if you love, you're born of God and of God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Like, I wanted to see people that said that could love as much as this Bible was saying, and so,
me too.
And then I think after a lot of research, I started realizing anytime we write something with unconditional love, it is the Word of God.
That's right.
So anything that comes from love is the Word of God.
That's right.
And we are books. I think the last guy you interviewed said that, and he's right. We are books. We're walking books. When I saw that, that's another thing. My testimony about God. I did not know about the Bible at that time. Nothing. I didn't know about anything. And when I saw God, it was 7 months later when I started reading about Ezekiel, seeing God on the throne, how God's on the throne, and with white wool and all these things. Well, God knew that I was going to have some kind of gift reading this Bible, and he wanted to show me signs that I was going in the right direction. So, so we just went on a journey, and this is how we got here. And I started noticing that, we're created beings to give everything we have to help everybody else. A lot of people out there, it's like, I got this car and I got this nice house. Well, this car and this house are going to dissolve in the dirt. But but they're like, well, I got them now. Yeah, but you don't have them, because our life goes for eternity. But these cars are like toilet paper, and these cars and it's not wrong to have nice things. I'm glad people have nice things, and I want people to have nice things. But when these nice things determine how our day goes, then we have problems.
That's right.
Because when crisis happens, the only thing that can help you is knowing your identity.
That's so good. I like the toilet paper analogy. Nowadays, there really is no toilet paper left.
No, not today. There's not. No. But but I did a video of that. It's no longer up because I think I took it down. But I did of old-fashioned days of the 1890s, and it showed everybody's life.
I remember that.
You know, wearing hats and the wind blowing, and they're doing their makeup, they're putting their clothes on, they got their carriages. And one thing is, everything in that video is so far gone, it's all dust now. And every single person in that video woke up that morning trying to get ready, trying to get their makeup on, getting their hats all perfect, when nothing mattered. The only thing that mattered is whose heart they were going to touch that day. Because our lives are on journeys. Our souls are on journeys.
Good, man.
And our journey is to go forward. And I think that living in the flesh and allowing the world to determine who we are kills our souls. And to the point where, you know, we're not growing in the way we're supposed to be growing. You know, I believe that the Bible is clear, is our souls. And when I say the Bible, I'm saying it because that's my foundation. It's not toward any other foundation, because obviously I respect every foundation, and they're all have bits and pieces of the truth in them. But I think it's pretty clear that our souls are committed to come into this flesh in our mother's womb to go on those journeys, to get ahead, to learn what love is. And so if we're not dwelling love in our hearts and building our bodies in the right way, it's literally like trash. And that's why it's clear that you know, we can create hell on earth if we don't live that way. I'm trying to say this without getting too technical today.
That's powerful stuff, man. It's so honored to have you on here, bro. This is amazing. This is gonna touch so many people. I've always wanted a lot of people to hear your testimony, and that's just a glimpse of it. You didn't really go in detail and a little bit of what's going on in the life. I mean, this enough with the time that has gone by. It's a lot of information that we can all chew on and soak on and stuff like that. So everybody, if you guys, Luke would never ask, but anyway, follow Walk Kingdom. He's gonna have some good content coming out. He's been productive in other areas of meditation and exercising his spiritual senses and other things he has going on in his own journey. But follow up with his work, man. This stuff right here is amazing. This is my right-hand man, and if you guys know who I am, and then you know me having a right-hand man like this.
We got a lot of content to cover. We're going to cover more. There's a back end to the Bible, just like the back end to a website, where there's numbers and digits, and I can take people to the back end of the Bible. And when you learn the back end of the Bible, you actually know what's going to happen before it happens, because of the way, just like when you're on the back of a website, you know everything without being on the on the front end of the website. It's pretty crazy stuff. But you know, we're gonna soon have a school that blow people's minds with the movies and breaking down soul, spirit, and flesh. We got some things that I believe not many people know about, so it's going to be amazing. So
super excited
break those down.
We're combining Walk Kingdom and Training to Reign and in one accord and one devotion, you know. So
everybody's one. That's one thing I learned about this experience is when we leave our bodies, we're all one. We're all created. God and us and everything is one. It's one light.
That's right.
You can't divide light. You can't divide light.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I had a good time. Thanks, Nico. And
me too, man.
Get it again next time.
That was so much fun. Even hearing this, I guarantee y'all have amazing dreams. That I'll have some encounters in and wake up for some new stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, man. I love it a lot. It's getting me out of my patterns. Love you, brother. Bless you, and go hit it up. We'll do some more.
Later, dude.
See ya.